Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Spafford's Jordan Fairless on New Studio.
Do you find a disconnect between how you feel about a show when you walk off stage to when you go and master it to release it?
Almost always, my 100%. And we've spent a lot of time talking about that, and we attribute it mostly to like what's going on up here, not necessarily what was going on stage. And it's almost always true because I go listen back to a show where I thought that I like played terribly, had no creativity, like was just on stage, like waiting for the end of the set because I just did not feel like I was contributing anything. And everyone's like, dude, that's one of the best sets I've ever heard you play. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay, so maybe like I need to figure out how to get out of my own way in that same way without having like thinking about uh did the car payment go through on time, or like all the weird stuff that pops into your head
Right.
while you're playing music. Sometimes I'll tell Nick my random thoughts after the show and he'll just laugh at me. And I'll be like, yeah, man, I was on stage the other night thinking about the development of monotheism and how interesting it is, how much has really changed in the last 2,000 years. And I'm up there like playing, like, what's going on? Where have I been? But
The bass player for the Radiators once told me that he thinks about how much he's getting paid per note.
yeah, play more notes.
Yeah,
No,
play more
the,
notes.
Yeah,
it's
one way to do
actually
it.
that's a really I'm gonna might have to modify that because if you really want to be a good bass player, you don't need to play that many notes. So you can use the financial value. The more notes that you play, the less they're worth.
I got
So
40 cents a note
you,
instead of 30.
you gotta keep them sparing,
That's
or they're
right.
not
Well,
as
each one is
valuable.
worth more, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Individually
yeah,
for that
yeah.
reason.
The more you play,
Oh, but
so
The
you
I
more
you
you
love that.
had
win.
you mentioned the covers. I mean, crazy. Demi Lovato to Steve Kimmock. I mean, where is this
Yeah,
coming from? Is this Corey or is this just, hey, let's try something new? Because I
with
got one
Demi
for you.
Lovato.
I got one for you.
Okay. Yeah, the Demi Lovato is like Brian. We've thrown out all kinds of just random artists, some stuff. Like the Ferry Corsten tune that we did. Punk is like an old, trance slash break beats track that like I used to DJ when I would DJ at raves. And like that was like a memory for me that I'm like, dude, that was one of the most iconic, like amazing synth lines. And I really think it would be cool if we could play it. And I was like, oh yeah. And then Brian's like, man, I heard this Demi Lovato song on the radio. I think it would be cool. I'm like, all right. Hey man, I was listening to the new Lumineers album. I really like this song, Brightside. Let's give it a shot, and like it's that easy, and people just come in with the stuff, and you give it a shot and see how it works. And
You
if it
you
works,
learned
you go
some
for it.
you learned some interesting ones too for Halloween, huh?
Yeah, that was really fun. And like, we've been just flying by the seat of our pants. I mean, we're pretty well organized, but it's still, we have a new member, and we played like, play over 100 shows this year, so we're always going. And we're sitting here at the beginning of this tour, and we're like, oh yeah, we got to figure out Halloween. And we started like making jokes, and then it just evolves from there. And it's so much fun when it happens that way, and like we're like, all right, next year we're going to be prepared, like, 364 days to the next Halloween. We're doing this like Nightmare Before Christmas style. But this year we got to come up with something. So what do we got? And everybody just starts throwing out ideas, and then it just evolves and evolves and evolves, and you end up learning all of this stuff and coming up with such a cool and fun show, and like making the costumes together, figuring out Corey's mushroom hat, like doing all the stuff. It's like you feel like you're a kid, and that's why we do this, because it's fun. And Halloween shows should be fun,
Uh,
and this one was super fun.
Billy Strings kind of set the bar pretty high with the whole
Oh my god.
wrestling thing. My
Oh man.
God.
Things you can do when you play at an arena, right? That's just
Exactly.
like
When
so cool. I'm like, dude,
exactly.
I love reading the hell. It's like 6 hour extravaganza. I'm like, dude, that guy, man, he's just something else.
He is.
Like his creativity, and like it just he never ceases to amaze me. I remember like watching, I forget where we were, and like he sold out the like 191 Tool or whatever down in Tucson. He was just coming off a sellout here, he's going around, and it's just like, man, everyone's like, who's Billy Strings? And now I'm flying to a show, and I push the thing on the airline, and it's like Billy Strings live at Redbox on American, courtesy of American Airlines.
Oh,
Like,
whoa.
It's
man, that
crazy.
is just crazy and like so cool to see, like just happen for someone, and
Mhm.
especially someone who's just out, like watching, and now you're watching him and Goose like over in Europe and just doing all this stuff. Like, man, that's just amazing to watch.
Brilliant lyrics too. I can listen to his lyrics and be like, did someone write this 100 years ago, or did he write this last week? It's fantastic.
Yeah. I hadn't taken my time to do the proper Billy deep dive, and then my wife's like, it's actually really good. I'm like, all right, put it on. She puts it on, he starts singing. I'm like, saying, what is he, like 200 years old? Where did he
It
get that
reminds me of
voice
Tony
from?
Rice.
Yes.
So I'm like, man, that's just such
Yeah.
a deep, soulful, like honest thing, and it's
Yeah.
incredible.
You had mentioned writing new songs and stuff. Have you guys been in the studio?
We've been posting some pics and stuff. We've been tracking with Matt Ruffino, who did Live Wax. He mixed Simple Mysteries. He's done like a bunch of our recent
Today's
releases.
show.
Yeah, he's also the like 6 or 7-time Emmy award winning audio mixer for the Today
We
Show.
interviewed him. We interviewed him like 6 months ago, and he mentioned that he
Nice.
was talking to you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Matt
he
has
said-
just become like he's become a good friend and also a master of his craft, and he's just a good hang. And we had all these projects that we sent to him to be mixed. We're like, we need to go record with Matt. So we started that process a few months ago. We're getting pretty close to being done. It's been a tour album in that we've had to record it in between tour breaks. So it's not like when we did For Amusement Only, that was like a session album, as they call it, where the entire album was recorded in one session.
Right.
And we left the studio with the album done. This one has been more segmented, as we've done on some of our other albums, where you track the drums, you come back, you track the bass. And so we've been breaking this one up in sessions as we have everyone. So we did like a general session, and then you just kind of fit it in where you can with the tour schedule. But yeah, we have been recording.
How many new tunes? The ones that pop in my head are Shelter in Place, Motel 6, and Skyline, like you said, which you just debuted. How many other ones do you have?
I can only well, there's a bunch of new music on this album actually. I forget how many, and I forget how many songs are on there. But Skyline, we recorded. I actually finished in the green room in Montana, in not Billings, in Columbia Falls, Montana. I just set up my practice stuff and I had my acoustic bass, and I had that idea around for a while, but I couldn't finish the second verse. And I sat in the green room and I just started playing the first verse, and then I just made up the second verse on the spot, wrote it down, and everyone came back. And Brian was like, "Hey, do you got any new songs?" I'm like, "I actually just finished one. Do you want to hear it?"
Wow.
And that was it. And then everyone came in because it's not like a super complicated song. It's more about the lyrics and everything else with that one. But everyone just came in and learned it, and then a week later we played it live. So that'll be on the next album. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it'll just be a single. But there's a bunch of other stuff that is unheard, and some of the newer stuff we have started playing. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for mentioning all this, but we've already posted all the pictures on social media. So
Is it different? I mean, did you used to road test stuff first, then record it?
No, I mean, there's been, and I think you could talk to any touring band, especially in our vein, where you release all your shows. There's always like a struggle between when you're working on new music, especially if you've recorded something, and like when do you start playing it live? Because if you look at like, a band like Tool, they're going to spend 10 years working on an album. You're never going to, if they're on tour, you're never going to hear a drop of those songs.
Right.
And the same would go for most pop artists, rock artists. Now, some are a little more storyteller types. They want to let you in. They'll say, "Hey, we've been working on a new song. You guys want to hear it?" And then it shows up on the album. With jam bands, it's like, man, you're just playing all the time and you're releasing every show. So like, it's a little different now, obviously, with cell phones and stuff, but like, you're releasing all your stuff anyway. Most artists don't have to worry about releasing all their recordings or people finding out that they tested out something new. Maybe a snippet shows up or whatever, but we got to post the show hopefully the next day. We try to do the next day. It's tough, but so we kind of go back and forth. We're like, man, should we play it? Should we not? And now we're like, I don't know, we'll just pick and choose. And, if there's stuff that we really want to wait, and, you want someone to hear the studio version of that first, and you do that. Otherwise, like, just play the song. It's fine. And like we've never we've just been playing catch up for the most part because we have been a live band, and so like it took us forever to even record "Leave the Light On," and many of our most influential songs over our the course of our career have taken us time to get on into an album. So we're just trying to become more like in the studio as a regular thing, and then also saying there's no need to wait to just play it because people want to hear new music, and we want to play new music because there's stuff that happens when you're playing new music. And it's been interesting, like when we go back to play some of the older songs of our catalog now, it feels so different to me because we're not playing them as much anymore, because we do have new tunes that have energy, that are fun and danceable, and it's really cool to be able to like switch it up and have new material that you feel as good about playing as the songs that you played 1,000 times. And it like gets pumped up when you switch back to playing the old stuff. You're like, oh, Leave the Light On, man. We haven't played this in like 6 shows. Remember when it was every other show felt like we were playing this song.
It was nice to see Red's Jam, and I think you did Phone Booth. Didn't you break Phone Booth out?
Yeah, we played Phone Booth a couple times, and Brian took over the old Red part. And we're slowly like looking at all that stuff. But also, like we want to add back in like fan favorites when and where we can. Red's Jam was easy because it doesn't have vocals, and that was a one that Corey really wanted to do because it's a cool like piano driven song. And we start looking at some of the other stuff, and then also throwing out, it's really nice to just be playing new stuff. That's almost the last time I'm gonna say that. It's been really, really refreshing. Having like rotation in the catalog and looking at something. I forget the segue we did out of Red's Jam the other night, but sometimes Corey just walks in and he's like, "Hey, can I get these 3 things on the set list?" And it's like he made some transition that he wants to do, and he's like, "I want to play these songs," and we're like,
that's
all right,
fantastic.
Just throw it in there.
I love that.
It's amazing.
Thinking about
like, he's thinking about. He's always thinking about it. He's always thinking about his tones. He's always thinking about like segues and ideas, and he likes to talk about stuff, and he's a cool dude.
But that's such a great indication of also like the community and the ethos that you all have built, where someone can come into this this kind of dynamic and feel so at home, and like that's something that they could do and want to do because it'll be received with such energy. Like I think that's also telling for the rest of you too.
Absolutely. And we've told him like since the beginning, because he came from the Motif, who was like a gigging band. I mean, he's got songs, and we're like, dude, we want to hear your stuff. Like we want to hear the stuff that you released with your previous band, and we also want to hear stuff that you never released. And like, we played one of his tunes within like 2 months of him joining the band, but he's just one of us. He just fits in, and it's amazing. And like I'm grateful that he was there and that he said yes, because it's a big commitment, and he did. He took his time to think about it, but he said yes, and like he takes it seriously, and he has since he said yes. He's honored that commitment.
You know your real people better in the first few minutes you meet them than people who are your acquaintances in your entire life. So I guess you guys had that moment.
That's it, man. If you got the same, if we can connect over like a general amount of movie quotes, we're probably going to be okay. And he starts dropping them, like, all right, he's good. Like,
all right, we'll let him
bring him in.
Yeah, that'll work. This'll work.
Yeah.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.